Yo, what's up? Good morning. We out here. It's the Buff Missionary. Just waking up here on a Sunday morning. It's 9:49. Been up for a little bit, but you know, before I get into that, like, subscribe, hit the bell, all that good stuff. Y'all know how we roll. But I have been thinking a lot lately about kind of my family and my mom in particular and how that relates to my spirituality. And it's been a struggle. I'm not going to front. I talked in a couple videos about how I am struggling with apathy and just kind of how there's this cycle where it's up and down, and it's like, well, it's hard for me to get excited about when things are better because of how low the lows get and because it just seems to not last for very long. But I read something this morning that may have put some of this stuff into a better perspective for me. So I'm going to read briefly through that real quick and just share a couple of the thoughts that came through my mind as I read that. So, and let me give you a little bit more context as well. More context. This stuff matters, guys. Context, it matters. So I am on duty this weekend in the dorm and was walking around, I believe it was Friday, and saw a student who I asked how he was doing, and he said things weren't going too well. I'm not going to go into too many details of that, but there were some things he was struggling with family, and I could definitely resonate with that. But kind of where we were on our way, I was heading to the gym, he was going to the girls' dorm, and we didn't really have the time to lock into it there. So I said, hey man, catch up with me in my office over the weekend and we'll talk. So we were able to do that, and just sharing back and forth, it was really interesting how, one, you never know how the struggles you go through may better prepare you to listen to someone else's struggles. It's an interesting thing, but when you learn to have a better emotional response towards the things that you struggle with, it does help you to at least speak some life into people who are struggling in a similar area. So on that point, first I'm going to say this. All of us have things going on in our lives. A lot of us, these things are not things that we enjoy, situations that we hate and wish we were absolutely not in whatsoever. But the thing we have to remember is there's 8 billion people out there, and we don't know how many of those people are struggling with some of the same things that we're already going through, and how many people we can impact in a positive way based on how we go through those experiences. So keep that in mind. It may not only be for your sake that you go through the things that you go through. And this is something for the 13 years that this situation has been going on with my family that I have to remind myself. And I use that kind of loosely because it's very much been a sort of, I tell myself that because I know it's the right thing to say and to think. But do I really believe that? Am I locking into that and actually trying to see how that would impact my outlook, my actual real outlook, any differently? And that's where I think today's stuff comes into play. Now, here's the other piece of context. In my devotions, I'm kind of all over the place, but I have a few different books that I look at briefly in the mornings. I'm not trying to spend hours, but just trying to lock in and connect with God before I start the day. And something very random that I started doing was I opened up to Isaiah. I didn't start in the first chapter, didn't start with the first few verses or anything like that. I didn't even start at the end of the book or the middle. I started with a chapter that had gotten pointed out to me somewhere. I don't even remember, but it was like Isaiah 55. And then I said, well, you know what? I want to mix it up. I want to do something different. So let me read through Isaiah backwards. So that day I read through 55, the next day 54, and so on until this morning, or yesterday morning, I was reading through Isaiah 48. And the title of the chapter, or not the title, but the subheading for the chapter is called Israel Refined for God's Glory. And I read that and I think about the conversation that I had with the young man on Friday, and it's like, it's interesting. I'm thinking of my perspective on my own experience and thinking about some of the things that he shared with me. And I'm reminded of this very important concept that for things to become great, to things to become their most valuable, they have to go through pressure and trial, compression, through heat. You look at diamonds, the process that they're formed. Heat and pressure is what makes them what they are. If it wasn't for the heat, if it wasn't for the pressure, they wouldn't be that. So you think about the natural speaking into the supernatural and the spiritual. And I believe it's very much the same thing that's going on there in our lives, right? Well, this Bible that I have, it's the Remnant Special Forces Study Bible. As you can see here, I love this thing. I got it right before I went back to Palau, and that's where I really got locked in on reading through the Gospels and discovering Jesus in a new way. And I'm not going to lie, since coming back home in 2019, the last 4 years, I have not spent as much time in the Bible as I did the 4 years I was in Palau, straight up. Even though I've been here in school studying Bible stuff in the seminary the whole time, I have definitely not spent nearly as much time. I'd probably say that I spent more time in 1 year in the Bible in Palau than I spent in the last 4 years being here. I'm not proud to say it, but I keep it real. So that's what it is. But anyways, say all that to say, I end up sitting down and going through this. And the reason I bring up the fact that it's the Remnant Study Bible, like I said, I just woke up a little bit ago, all right? My mind's all over the place. Bear with me. They have like different quotes from other books, other inspiration. Ellen White's one of the authors that they quote often in here. And there's a lot of additional insight that's given based on the chapters that are read. Yesterday, I read through Isaiah 48, and there was a big section, like a third of the page here, and I'll show it to you, entitled Purpose for Trials. You can see it right there. But the funny thing is, I skipped it. I didn't read it. I went through, turned the page, finished the chapter, and there were like a couple other lines there expounding on some other stuff. But the big picture of this chapter was this idea of being refined by the trials, the purpose of the trials. That's what this section was about, and I totally skipped it. So I'm getting up this morning to read. First thing I do is pull over the Bible to open it up and read. And it's funny because chapter 47 now is entitled The Humiliation of Babylon. Now, you could take that a lot of different ways, and a lot of people do, I'm sure. But going from reading it backwards again, Israel being refined for God's glory, to the humiliation of Babylon, there's like, what's the connection there? And I'm reading it backwards, so I may be losing it a little bit. I'll turn around and read it the right way at some point, okay? So, anyways, as I'm reading through the chapter, I get down to the end of it, and the end of the chapter is right above where this section that I was supposed to read yesterday was on the purpose of trials. And given the conversation that I had last night, now I'm a little bit more attuned to saying, let me read this thing and see what it has to say. So check this out. Many who sincerely consecrate their lives to God's service are surprised and disappointed to find themselves, as never before, confronted by obstacles and beset by trials and perplexities. They pray for Christ's likeness of character, for a fitness for the Lord's work, and they are placed in circumstances that seem to call forth all the evil of their nature. Been there. Faults are revealed of which they did not even suspect the existence. And on this point right here, it's interesting. When I look at kind of some of the thoughts that I've had to wrestle with as I look at my family situation, there's not only the dynamic of what my mom is dealing with in real time, right? But there's also the aspect of it's been hard for me to understand how my dad deals with it. Now, you're talking about a marriage relationship, right? And we know about the vows and all that kind of stuff. And that straight up, like, if I'm being 100% honest, that kind of stuff scares me. I don't know how, when you get married, you never assume for the worst, or do you? Like, that's the thing I don't get. Because when people are making those vows and they're making those statements like in sickness and in health, you know, that's big time. And in those moments, I mean, and I'm not even assuming that everybody gets married at 100% health on both sides. That's not reality either. But it's incredible to me to kind of see that thing play out again in real time, where it's like, I said this, so I'm going to live up to that. And to be frank, like I said, I'm outing myself here right now. That's one of the aspects about relationships and the pursuit of it that scares me, because I don't know if I can do that. The feeling of apathy that started to come into my own mind and heart when I looked at my family situation, that kind of stuff scares me, not just because of how I'm relating to my own family, but how I would potentially relate to my future family. You know what I'm saying? I was unaware, as it says here, faults are revealed of which they did not even suspect the existence. But here's the thing. I'd be lying if I sat here and told you that I have no interest in being in a relationship and having my own family one day. But clearly there's an obstacle and there's a fault that I have to get past in my mind somehow if I'm ever going to be successful in that experience. So for as alarming as it is to see that kind of a flaw in my own character, my own personality, it's necessary. I needed to see that, and I needed to experience that to realize exactly what I was doing. I need to ask the question, I need to ask more questions about what love really is. How deep does it really go, and how much does it impact the way that you view other people regardless of their condition? That's actually very fascinating to me, because as I've been on this tip over the last month or so about being versus doing, and talking about what would Jesus do being the wrong question, and more about who would Jesus be. Well, who would Jesus be in this situation right here, right now? It's so easy to get caught up talking about stuff that's great and forgetting to apply them to our own experience while we're the ones speaking about it. It's amazing. I needed that. I needed to have those flaws exposed so I can develop and grow and become better and put myself in a good position to be able to be in a good relationship, to be a good father, to be a good husband, to be a good family contributor sometime down the line. So on that point, I'll say this. I don't have it all figured out, but I do realize that something about the way that I viewed love, especially in the context of relationships, was wrong. And because of that, I can say it's a very good thing that I haven't tried really to pursue anything. Well, I can't say that because I have. Let's just say it's good that things haven't worked out in that regard, because I might have done more damage to myself and to another person had I been in a relationship not having figured out these things or asking these questions or on the path to work these things out. So I'm thankful for that. I'm actually thankful for that. It says, like Israel of old, they question, if God is leading us, why do all these things come upon us? Classic Christians, right? We think that because we follow God, everything's going to suddenly become easier, and that's not always the case. It is because God is leading them that these things come upon them. Trials and obstacles are the Lord's chosen methods of discipline and His anointed conditions of success. I read that and it strikes me very poignantly. If I was ever going to be successful in terms of a relationship, in pursuit of a marriage, in pursuit of fatherhood, in pursuit of being a family man, I had to know about this. I had to learn this. And this struggle that my family is dealing with, and my struggles in learning how to relate to my own mother, are important factors that will determine my success on the next level. And if I never would have gone through this experience, if this, and gone through, it's still going. If this isn't something that I'm able to experience live in real time, I'm not telling you this right now. I don't have this understanding and this I don't know if the word is appreciation for the trial and the struggle, maybe appreciation for the insight that I'm gaining through the trial and the struggle. I wouldn't have that now if it wasn't for that experience. That might have been the only way that I could learn this or begin to ask these questions. And it's taken me 13 years to do it. It's amazing. But I can honestly tell you, when I look at the goals that I have in my life and relationship and a family being one of them, I am thankful to have these flaws exposed and that I can ask these questions so I can learn to be that. So I can learn to express that through the things that I do and who I am. It says, he who reads the hearts of men knows their characters better than they themselves know them. That's facts. He sees that some have powers and susceptibilities which, rightly directed, might be used in the advancement of his work. In his providence, he brings these persons into different positions and varied circumstances that they may discover in their character the defects which have been concealed from their own knowledge. Again, facts. He gives them opportunity to correct these defects and to fit themselves for his service. Often he permits the fires of affliction to assail them that they may be purified. The fact that we are called upon to endure trials shows that the Lord Jesus sees in us something precious which he desires to develop. And that to me is the greatest encouragement. Being kind of in and out of different flings and things with girls and stuff over the years, it's part of it has been fun. But another aspect of it is like, yeah, but it doesn't really last. It doesn't have the permanence that I would like it to ultimately have. You know what I mean? And seeing that these trials are going on in the background, and I don't know that I've had the realization I've had over the last couple days in regard to how all these things connect, the spirituality, the pursuit of relationship, these issues with my family, my character, my weaknesses being exposed over the years, and an opportunity to learn and to embrace the journey of growth through that. I've never had that before, and I appreciate it. But it also tells me that God wants these things for me because he's putting me in a position to develop and to learn about them and to explore them more. So it makes a statement like the one I make all the time, the best is yet to come, even more exciting. Even despite the fact that the situation that my family is in right now is not one that I'm absolutely excited about or that I love. I don't enjoy seeing my mom have to struggle through these things. I don't enjoy seeing my dad like not know where he stands on a day-to-day basis because of how these issues impact my mom. I don't enjoy seeing how my brother and his family are impacted by these things being nearby. I don't enjoy seeing how my sister maybe struggles to connect with her mom, who she was always the closest to growing up, because of these things. I don't enjoy seeing these things happen. But I do know that there is another perspective that I can benefit from if I take that approach in choosing to view this experience in that way. And I don't have to enjoy the fact that sin damages people and that it impacts the world in a negative way. I don't have to. But I can appreciate the fact that God says, hey, all these things are out here and it seems like they will destroy you, but I'm still promising you success through it all if you trust in me. That's the epiphany that I had this morning. And I don't know what the purification process will continue to look like, but I'm thankful to be in the fire and to have my eyes open and to see that Jesus is here with me, trying to guide me and teach me something that will help me be better and ready for my own difficult experiences coming down in the future that I have no idea of. So that's something that I can be thankful for. That's something I can be grateful for. And that's something I wanted to share with y'all today. So I'm going to leave it at that for now. Like, subscribe, share, hit the bell. Talk to me in the comments if anything stood out to you. And I will catch you in the next one. We out here and we out. Peace.